Happy Friday, Muskies. It's only 2 weeks until Thanksgiving break. I'm Amira Savani.
And I'm Nick Bergman. This is Xavier News.
From the Xavier University Television Studio, this is Xavier News.
Rescue crews were called to the World Trade Center on Wednesday afternoon, where 2 window washers were trapped outside the 69th floor. The trouble all started when a cable reportedly snapped. The workers were tethered to a hanging platform, but luckily were rescued around 2:15 p.m. In order to rescue the workers, firefighters had to cut the window from inside the World Trade Center, which proved difficult due to the thickness of the glass. Michael Walsh of Yahoo News reported, quote, "Despite the swift response by authorities, the harrowing sight continued to frighten onlookers," end quote. In the past, firefighters have had to rescue many people in situations such as these because of faulty scaffolding. This is very common in New York, but as the emergency crews demonstrated on Wednesday, they are prepared to respond quickly to these situations.
History was made on Wednesday as a journey 10 years in the making was finally completed. After traveling through space for 10 years and doing 5 laps around the sun, a small spacecraft has landed on a comet, and both are now hurtling through space at 40,000 miles an hour, traveling somewhere between Mars and Jupiter. The spacecraft, mission Rosetta, began its journey a decade ago. Rosetta chased the comet for 4 billion miles, just recently getting close enough to pick a landing site. However, touching down was anything but easy. The comet is relatively small, just smaller than Manhattan, contains almost no gravitational pull, and is also constantly spinning. Scientists have never been able to make contact with the comet because of the difficulty of the contact. Comets contain material formed before the Earth was formed in the Big Bang. Some of that material includes water. Having been uninterrupted in space for billions of years, scientists are hoping to acquire data from the comet that can answer some questions about the Big Bang and the development of matter in the universe.
In New Delhi, India, 11 women are dead and 20 are injured after visiting a free sterilization clinic for surgery this week. 83 women, all under the age of 32, had the operations as part of the government's free sterilization campaign designed to decrease the birth rate in the country. Because women are having too many kids and there is a need for population control, women take full advantage of free sterilization surgeries, leading to a high death toll. The cause of death was found to be blood poisoning or hemorrhagic shock, but it started off as low blood pressure, according to Deputy Health Director Amar Singh. In addition to its high birth rate, India has a high rate of infant mortality as well. Approximately 63 in every 1,000 newborn infants do not survive, in comparison to China's 37 infant deaths out of every 1,000. 4 doctors in New Delhi have currently been suspended on account of negligence.
On Tuesday, President Obama was in China for the APEC summit to strengthen ties with the region for the intent of increasing and strengthening trade. Some of the world's most powerful leaders were in attendance, including Vladimir Putin of Russia. President Obama and President Putin met in unscheduled meetings multiple times through the summit to discuss the current state of the U.S.-Russia relationship. Reports indicate that the U.S. will impose more sanctions against Russia if they do not cease their incursions into Ukrainian territory, and the exchanges from the summit reportedly did not produce any change in the current state of the U.S.-Russian relations. The meetings with President Putin stand in stark contrast with the meetings between President Obama and Chinese President Xi Jinping. The meetings are all part of President Obama's recommitment to strengthening ties in the region to improve America's standing on global trade and climate change. At the summit, President Obama announced a deal with China to lower tariffs on select electronics. President Obama said in a speech on Tuesday, quote, "If the United States and China can work together, the world benefits," end quote. On Wednesday, President Obama and President Xi Jinping reached an agreement that would drastically cut down on carbon emissions. Smoke and air quality is a major problem in China, so much so that many in the urban areas even have to wear masks in some of the worst areas. After years of dragging its feet on the issue, China has finally agreed to take action on climate change with the U.S. The two are the largest emitters of carbon emissions in the world and make up about 39% of total emissions in the world last year. The U.S. has promised to reduce carbon emissions 26% by 2015, doubling its pace. China promises to cap its carbon emissions by 2030 or earlier and bump up its renewable energy use to 20%. These numbers still do not do as much as many environmental groups would like, but they agree that the deal is a move in the right direction. However, despite the successes of the trip, a broader regional deal has still not been reached, including on issues of high importance to America on such topics as human rights and cybersecurity.
The midterm elections concluded early last week with Republicans sweeping the Senate, and the House. However, voter turnout this year was the worst in 72 years. Only 36.3% of eligible voters participated, and no state saw a turnout higher than 60%. The state of Maine had the highest voter turnout with 59.3%. Obama spoke the day after the midterm election and acknowledged the poor turnout, saying, quote, "To everyone who voted, I want you to know that I hear you. To the 2/3 of voters who chose not to participate in this process yesterday, I hear you too. All of us have to give more Americans a reason to feel like the ground is stable beneath our feet, that the future is secure, that there's a path for young people to succeed, and that folks here in Washington are concerned about them," end quote. A possible reason for such a low voter turnout is dissatisfaction with the White House and in President Obama. According to exit polls, the American people have an overall pessimistic view of where the country is heading. Voting during midterm elections is traditionally lower than during general elections, but this year was a particularly low point.
This weekend is a big weekend on campus for the performance arts, and there is plenty to do. For those interested in a professional level performance, the Student Activities Committee has arranged a trip to see the Broadway-winning musical Once, based on the 2006 film of the same name, at the Aronoff Center. Once is the story of an Irish musician and a Czech immigrant on the streets of Dublin that are drawn together by their shared love of music. Over the course of one fateful week, an unexpected friendship and collaboration quickly evolves into a powerful but complicated love story, underscored by emotionally charged music. Buses depart from Bellarmine Circle on Saturday at 1 p.m. and return at 5 p.m. Tickets are available through the Student Activities Committee. And for students interested in music, the fourth installment of the Fall Student Recital Series continues on Friday in Long Recital Hall at 7:30 p.m. Also, Caitlin Ray's senior trumpet recital will be in Bellarmine Chapel at 2 p.m. on Saturday, and Michelle Barron's senior voice recital will be in Bellarmine Chapel at 7:30 p.m. later that Saturday. The Xavier players will be doing their second ever published show this weekend, the Tony Award-winning God of Carnage by Yasmina Reza. It is about two sets of parents, one of whose child has hurt the other at a public park, who will meet to discuss the matter in a civilized manner. However, as the evening goes on, the parents become increasingly childish, resulting in the evening dissolving into chaos. The production is entirely staged by students, and all of the profits go to charity. Tickets are only $5. The play is on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. in the Gallagher Black Box Theater. Tickets can be purchased outside the door before the play. For a full list of on-campus events this weekend, visit Xavier's website and look for the section of the homepage that says Events. That'll do it from this desk. We'll be right back with Andrew Tanner in the Xavier Sports Report. But before that, a report from Xavier Television's own Allie Martin on the Cincinnati Music Hall.
The Cincinnati Music Hall has graced the community with its beauty inside and out. However, what many don't know is the work that still needs to be done under the surface.
Discussions about renovating Music Hall have been underway for several years, and it's focused on preserving and improving the experience for patrons who come into Music Hall. We're one of the largest theaters in the country today. We seat 3,500 people, and Music Hall is a much loved space in Cincinnati. It's a unique venue. It's a National Historic Landmark, which is a really nice way of saying it's a very old building. And it has a lot of mechanical, electrical, plumbing needs that the last major renovation dates from the 1970s. So you can imagine the plumbing systems, the electrical systems in that intervening period. There's a need for not only an enhancement of the patron amenities, restrooms, handicap access, concession service, and so forth, but also behind the scenes there are many other production-related issues that we've grown used to dealing with that need to be addressed.
Even with all the necessary renovations, its presence has made a lasting impression as the surrounding over-the-Rhine community flourishes.
I think the Cincinnati Music Hall means a great deal to this city. Some of my best memories are sitting in Washington Park looking up at the building. And beyond just the building, I think what it stands for, the importance of culture and of music, is something that is especially important given today's society and the focus on doing the next thing and being busy. So I think it's very important.
The music hall offers a handful of ways to get involved with the hopes of raising greater awareness for the building's needs.
There are many outlets to participate, to get engaged, to be ushers, to volunteer to give tours of Music Hall, and generally to attend events that are held here. That's another big part of just being in the fabric of a city that has these wonderful buildings.
Happy Friday, Xavier fans, and welcome to another edition of the Xavier Sports Report. I'm Andrew Tanner. The experience is finally upon us. The Xavier men's basketball team tips off its 2014-15 season tonight at Cintas Center against the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks. Xavier is coming off a big exhibition win over Northwood last week, a blowout in which the boys put up over 100 points on the D2 opponent. The Muskies have won 24 straight season openers, including all 14 of their openers at Cintas. They need a big student section turnout to make that 25 straight, so get to Cintas at 7 p.m. tonight for a wild experience. Now let's switch to the pitch, where the Muskie men are meeting their great expectations. Number 2 Xavier will meet number 3 Georgetown in the Big East Tournament semifinals tonight. The Muskies are 12-4-1 on the year after starting the season 0-2. They've shut out 10 of their last 15 opponents, a streak good enough for best in the Big East and 56th in the entire NCAA. The match will be broadcast on the Big East Digital Network with live commentary from Pat O'Keefe and David Glass. So log on to watch one of the best teams in Xavier sports as they continue their quest to the Big East Championship. And time is running short on the court, where XU Volleyball will travel to Butler's legendary Hinkle Fieldhouse tonight for their regular season finale against the Bulldogs. Xavier enters the contest 16-11 overall on the year, 9-6 and 5th in the Big East. And the Bulldogs are just ahead of them. They're a similar 18-9 and 4th in the standings. And Xavier's big three of Alex Blair, Aubrey Smith, and Abby Bessler had huge games in the team's last meeting. That was a 3-2 Muskie win. Good luck to our girls tonight. Let's hope they can bring home the win. And XU Hoops' 4th-ranked recruiting class looked really good in their exhibition last week, and you saw those highlights of Muskie Madness a couple weeks ago. And this week, Chris Mack was back on the recruiting attack when Xavier signed 6'8" forward Kaiser Gates, the first Muskie signee of the year. Mack said, quote, "I'm very excited to announce the signing of St. Francis High School senior forward Kaiser Gates. Kaiser is a winner, having won a state championship in Georgia as a junior. He fits the profile of a Xavier basketball player," end quote. The Sewanee, Georgia native averaged 14.4 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 3.3 assists per game, and 1.2 steals per game as a junior last season. He's a 4-star recruit on ESPN.com and has 3 stars on Scout and Rivals. And he also plays AAU hoops for the Atlanta Celtics. Let's hope adding Kaiser Gates opens the floodgates to another top 5 recruiting class for the Muskie Hoops. And that's all for this edition of the Xavier Sports Report. Good luck to all our athletes this weekend. I'm Andrew Tanner, and for everyone here at the studio, enjoy the games and have a great weekend.